for joining us today. You're listening to Pet EDU, and I'm your host, Mary Obadier. This is Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Patty GIARRUSSO has been on my show before, and I always love talking to her. Patty is the founder and president of Lost Pet Services, Inc. She also has a Facebook page called Lost Found Pets 941, which is now the largest, most active Lost and Found group in Manatee and Sarasota counties. Patty also hosts a radio show called Let's Talk Pets. Patty and her team work tirelessly around the clock to reunite lost pets with their owners. I know I have turned to her for a couple times lately, and she was right there for me when I called. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of keeping your pet's microchip information updated. Welcome to the show, Patty.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks so much for talking with me today. And, this is a very important topic. I had a client once that was a traveling nurse, and she lost her dog while she was traveling. And that dog was one of my favorites, by the way. And her chip was not updated. And I don't think to this day that she ever found her dog. And it would just break my heart wondering what happened.
Yeah, and sadly we see that too often with the chips that are not updated, registered, and they end up in the shelter and get adopted out. So.
Well, before I met you, I didn't know that my pet's chip had to be updated. What is it, yearly?
It depends. Sometimes people have a lifetime registration and they don't realize that. But generally speaking, it would be every year that you would have to update it. I chose to do a lifetime registration so I wouldn't have to worry about it. Some chips come with that, like our Humane Society offers chips with free lifetime registration. The chips that we give out have free lifetime registration. So you have to check and see, because each microchip company offers a different situation.
Well, I know that I get reminder emails online. So if you sign up for lifetime, you're probably not going to get that, right?
I don't think so. I don't think it's been a whole year now since I updated Carly's, because when I got her, it was just a year. And I don't even remember seeing an update reminder for the first year. I just happen to scan every year, as everyone should. And I check their chips, as everyone should. And that's what we're going to talk about. I was told that her chip was expired, which I had never heard. And that kind of got me on the kick of making sure that everyone remembers to update their microchips. But I don't know. I'll be curious to see if I get anything just reminding me to keep my information up to date, because that's as important as remembering to register every year.
Right. That's what happened to poor Boo Boo. So that was her name. So how do owners update their chips? What are the steps, and is there a fee?
Well, that again depends as far as the fee goes, but it's very simple to check your chip. And what you do is you either would have your vet scan it at your annual pets checkup, or you could go into a shelter and have them scan, or any vet will scan your pet and give you the microchip number, or here in Sarasota Manatee County, one of my volunteers that have a scanner could also scan for you. And then you take the number that comes on the scanner. It doesn't come up with your personal information. It only comes up with the chip number, and you take that chip number and you put it in petmicrochiplookup.org, and that is basically a database, a search tool, whatever you want to call it, that gives the registration information on that particular chip. So then it will give you the information about when that chip was last registered and updated, and the company and their phone number. And you would just take the number and call and just say to them, here's my microchip number. I want to make sure everything is registered properly and all the information is accurate. And if you have any blanks like emergency contact, email, something like that, we suggest that you fill in every single field in that registration, because sometimes your phone's not working, maybe you're on a cruise, you want to have a good emergency contact person that might be somebody not in your state. Like, we're in a hurricane area, if the cell phone towers go down, you want to have somebody that is your emergency contact, maybe not in the area, that will be sure to get the phone call. You want to have an email on there just in case. It's always good to have as many things as you can so that they can reach you. And that's pretty much all you have to do. You just want to make sure that the chip is working, that all the information's accurate. We've had typos on there. Instead of 941 area code, we've had 914 area codes. So it's really important because, human error, phone numbers can get mixed up, emails can get mixed up. So every single year you should double check all of your information. If you move or get a new phone, you should immediately call up and update the information and not wait, for the once a year time to do it.
See, I thought that I could just pull out my pet's chip information and sign on to that company, whoever I have it registered with. And
you can.
Instead of having the pet scanned, I can go online and just do it that way too, correct?
Yeah, you can. And I guess the way I was talking about it, I'm so used to people saying they don't know their chip number.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you know your chip number, then you have that information already. You don't have to get it scanned, but it is a good idea to have your pet scanned yearly at their annual checkup, just to make sure, it hasn't migrated. Some of them go down their arms. And sometimes when found pets are being scanned for chips, the people scanning them aren't doing a good thorough scan. So if that chip goes down their shoulder or down their arm, like my dog's has, that's another part of what I'm trying to get across to people is the proper scanning techniques. Also, you want to make sure that you know where that chip is. And it's a good practice too when your vet is giving any vaccines, that they know where that chip is so that they don't damage it. I mean, if you give a shot, it could potentially damage a microchip and then it won't be working. So, but as you said, if you have your microchip information, you can contact the company directly. You should have all of that in your pet's folder, and just call them and do the same thing. Just say, I want to make sure I'm registered properly and everything's accurate.
Well, I didn't know that a vaccine could ruin a chip. That's new to me.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I read it one day. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So really, whenever you take your pet to the vet, you should have them scanned just to see what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you're at a vet or, can a vet, a shelter or a rescue, research outdated or unregistered chips?
Can they?
Can they? Yeah.
They can, but the question is really, will they? I know our shelters are extremely busy, vets are busy. So do they have the time? It can take hours to search out an unregistered or outdated, I guess, chip that has old information, such as an old phone number. If we can get our hands on that information, we will literally spend hours researching it. And we use different programs that we've purchased to, basically be a little private investigator and do some detective work on it and locate the person. We'll, locate family members and contact them. I've contacted like landlords, and it can take days sometimes to track people down, but we want to be able to offer that service locally to our shelters, and they're kind of reluctant to take us up on it for whatever reason. I am not sure, but it doesn't help the pets. It doesn't help the pets get out of the shelter. So I'm working on it. I'm trying to get them to let us do that to help. I had Marilyn Litt on the show last week, and she talked about the Microchip Hunters group, that they're working across the United States to offer this as a service to shelters and vets and individuals that have found pets in their unregistered or outdated chips. because it is so important to help get these pets back home so they don't end up in a shelter and don't end up adopted out. You know, the saddest part is that many of these areas are cat stray hold could be 3 to 5 days, depending on which county, and dogs are only on the stray hold for 5 days. And if they're not doing, you know, this research on unregistered or outdated microchips, those pets can ultimately be adopted out before the owner is found, and or even worse, they could be put to sleep.
Well, I always thought there was like a 30-day hold,
No.
but tell me again how many days there are.
Now, if a cat is lost in Sarasota, it's 5 days. If a cat is lost in, or I should say brought in as a stray in Manatee County, it's only a 3-day hold. That's not very long. You know, and a dog is 5 days.
Wow.
Some states that I hear, they're only 2 days. You know, I mean, sometimes the dog is long gone before the owner even has a chance to figure out where to look for it.
That's sad. That's sad. It makes me sad because, you know, recently I had lost my cat Charlie for a while, and just to think that if somebody would have taken him in and then he got adopted again, I would have never ever found him.
Yeah, I know.
And even, well, he is chipped, but so if they're chipped, then they would locate the owner before adopting them out.
Yes, and that's why we talk about the importance of keeping that information up to date, because that's basically your saving grace if your pet is picked up as a stray. And here, and I think other communities do the same thing, we call it a free ride home if they have on an ID tag, obviously, or a license tag, or they're microchipped, the officer will give them a free ride home, because if they get brought into the shelter, it can be upwards of $200 to get them back. We had a dog there for literally, it wasn't even an hour, and the charge was $200 to get this dog out of there. So, you know, it makes a lot of sense to spend $20 a year to be sure your pet is safe. If it got picked up, it's not going to end up in a shelter where it could potentially be adopted out. Or if it was old, I mean, sometimes the old ones, if they think they're sick, they've been put to sleep. So, you know, the need to have a registered microchip that's all completely updated, it speaks for itself.
You know, this makes me think. I was talking to some clients probably a month ago, and they have a couple Yorkies, and they were really scared about, they were going to get their dogs chipped, and they were really scared about it. And I told them, you know, there's nothing to it. I don't even think they feel it, you know, and it's just a good thing to get done. And I will be seeing them this weekend, so I'm anxious to see how that went.
Yeah, they do have smaller gauge needles for smaller animals. And, you know, I've seen it done, and it's not that big of a deal. They grab the scruff of the neck and squeeze it together a little bit and install the microchip. You know, it takes seconds. It's not a big deal. It's just like giving a shot. They call it a surgical procedure here in Florida, but it's just a shot.
Now, you were talking, back when you were talking about you had a volunteer that would scan your pets. Will she come to your home, or do you have to take your pet somewhere?
No, I have one that'll drive all around.
Oh, that is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, we have several volunteers with scanners, with microchip scanners scattered around the 2 counties. So, you know, they'll help, you know, they will help.
Well, I know I volunteered with you one time. We were at, I think, the Humane Society event. So you go to a lot of these events and you scan pets for people to see, to check on their chip. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. Because besides reuniting lost pets, my organization is big on educating, because a lot of people don't know all about this. So we scan, do a check the chip clinic, basically